Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. So, we all know that mental illness is real, and I think a lot of us realize just how real it was during this crazy time and this crazy pandemic season. And in addition to that, the uproar of the social injustices going on. Well, today I want to talk about one thing out of many that you can do to help your mental well being, and that is setting boundaries and protecting your peace. Now, one thing that you can do is to be mindful of how much time you spend with other people. If you're an extrovert or an ambivert, you may be looked at as someone who others can talk to. Sometimes you feel like there's invisible ink written on your forehead that says, "Tell me what's bothering you," so that others may feel comfortable expressing their problems and their high or low points in their life. Although it's okay to be there for other people and expect nothing in return, you have to be mindful that sometimes you need to set those boundaries, but not only for your sake, but also for the other person's sake. In terms of your sake, if you keep pouring into someone else's cup without taking the time to refill yours, you may be stuck in a space mentally where you don't want to be. You may find yourself easily irritated, overly used, and worrying so much about others' well being that you forget about yourself and your own well being. Or you may become stale because you feel like you don't have enough time and energy to fulfill your goals and your purpose in life. Another thing in regards to people is if you surround yourself around people that talk negative all the time, you end up adding negative vibes in your space and mental thoughts as well. Now, the roots of negativity can end up seeping into your roots and could potentially mess up the fruit that you're trying to grow. Now, soak that in. Be mindful of who you let in to your roots because it could mess up the fruit that you're trying to grow. In terms of other people, you may impact them in a negative way if you spend too much trying to help them. If you spend too much time trying to help them, remember that. You can cause them to be overly reliant and dependent on others to help them through their problems. So sometimes you just have to set the boundaries to allow them to take the time for them to do their own self reflection. So, again, be selective in who you spend your time with and how much you spend your time with them. Another thing I want you to be mindful of to help protect your space and your peace and set your boundaries is how much time you spend on social media. Oh my goodness, I tell you, when the whistleblower blew smoke, all hell broke loose. Facebook, Instagram, everything just stopped working. People were turning on and off their phones just to try to see if it was them. They were resetting the app, uninstalling the app, and installing the app to try to make it work. And it was just so crazy to see how people reacted in this certain situation when social media platforms went down. Now, I personally am no longer on social media platforms of Facebook and Instagram because I myself had to get away from it and found myself being super addictive to it. And I had to say, all right, Rochelle, what are you going to do to help with your mental space and place? And getting off of those social media platforms has helped tremendously. Now, I'm not saying you go cold turkey all the way and get off of social media if that's not something you're willing to do, but be mindful of how much time you spend on it. If you're constantly waking up with your phone in your hand, scrolling through social media, and you're constantly doing the same before you go to bed, you have to do better. That is not good for you. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, social media will cause us to compare ourselves to other people and what they've got going on in their lives. And it might make you feel crappy when you see some people be super successful because you're not in a place where you want to be. But remember, stop trying to write in someone else's chapter and book and work to make your own and write your own story. Unfortunately, social media is causing that comparison. Take your time away from that. In addition to that, not only is it causing you to compare yourself to other people, But when you're scrolling through the news and the timeline and everything going on, that negativity can seep inside of you as well. So you also want to be mindful of how much time you spend watching the news and reality TV. If you don't already know it, a lot of what is shown and talked about on the news is controlled. And of course, a lot of what's shown in reality TV is not reality at all. I always think back to watching the wonderful Incredibles 2 movie when they were hypnotized. Think about it. The fact that when we were low on paper goods and toilet paper, it was going on and on and on and on and on the news, and it was just causing people to freak out and purchase an overabundance of supply of not just toiletries, but just everything else. It really put a lot of fear into us, right? Now, that didn't work too much when they told us there was a shortage of gasoline going on, but in the essence of everything else, it just goes to show you how much control the news can have on certain people. Now, it is great to keep up with the current news, but unfortunately, all we see these days on national news stations are bitterness towards the other party and discord. Believe it or not, but that also impacts you. When you're constantly seeing the negativity, they're constantly seeing the ruckus and the craziness going on in the world. Obviously, we want to understand it. We want to understand that the world is not perfect and people are not perfect, and that the world is just not 100% great for everyone. But figure out what you can control and what you can do about it. If it is that you want to help those that are in need, go for it. But don't constantly surround yourself by that bitterness or the negativity. Now, although it is very entertaining to watch some reality TV shows, you even have to be careful with how much time you spend watching that. You end up binge watching too much of it, and time passes by, and you could have been doing something so much more productive to help with your own well being, right? In addition, sometimes you start to get a preconceived notion on how you think other people or different races act. You might start to bucket people in categories just based on how they're perceived on reality TV. If you're not a strong minded individual, that is, right? But we all know, like I said before, reality TV is not reality. So, again, just be careful and mindful of how much news and how much reality TV you watch. Now, one last thing I want to leave you with to help protect your peace is to work to declutter your area. You know, they say that the perception is when you allow yourself in a cluttered space, that is a reflection on how your mind is. So take time to clear out some things in your space and declutter, whether that means cleaning the desk space around you, cleaning your room, your closet, you name it. It will help declutter your mind. So, what you allow to be placed in your space can be helpful or harmful. A lot of what we do today, especially spending so much time on social media, are time wasters. If you are an iPhone user, I highly recommend you take a look at your screen time on your phone and evaluate how much time you're spending on certain applications and certain websites. Set the downtime so that you can only use apps during a certain period of time. Take some time to reflect and say, how much time am I spending pouring back into my cup? And how much time am I spending pouring into others? Is there a shortage in your cup? Are you over pouring in others and under pouring in yours? It's all about balancing and finding the right balance that works for you. Protect your peace and be mindful of who and what you let in. So thanks so much for tuning in today. I appreciate it. And I really hope that this helps you to inspire you to set your aspirations and be great. So again, set your boundaries and protect your peace. Have a good day.